Chair, the meeting is now live.
Diolch, Carol. Well, bore da, good morning, and welcome to the meeting of the Democratic Services Committee for Powys. And do we have any apologies, Carol?
Yes, apologies from Councillors Sarah Williams, David Meredith, Kelly Healy, and Councillor Gareth E. Jones is on other council business. He's attending a safeguarding conference.
Great, thank you very much. And of course, if any of the members join us, they're welcome to do so. Well, the first item basically is to elect a vice chair. We touched on this last time. Are there any suggestions or recommendations? Don't all rush at once.
I'm happy to continue if.
You now, we're not using the hand. I'll support that.
Yes. Indeed.
Yeah. So, Peter, you happy with that?
I've just lost my I just lost my hand function somewhere.
Yeah, I did the same thing now.
I was going to nominate Councillor Graham anyway. So,
That's it. Yes, I can't see a hand function up by the. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you and congratulations, Peter, Graham. Right, minutes of last meeting. Are we content that they are a correct reflection of that meeting? A chance to look through. Yes, I can see nodding heads. All happy with that? Yeah. Okay, we'll take that as so. Therefore, declarations of interest. Well, I don't think unless there's anything particular that relates today. We've only got one main item, which is the single transferable vote, the STV, and therefore we might as well proceed on to that. Clive, are you leading his?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. Get rid of the frog in my throat to start with. Members will see from the report that's before them, and members will of course recall that the issue of STV was considered by full council on the 5th of October of this year, and council took the view that at that stage that this issue should come to Democratic Services Committee for consideration before it returns to for consideration by full council. Again, subject to the views of DSC this morning, that will happen on the 7th of December. So members will see from the report before them that the Local Government and Elections Wales Act 2021 introduced for the first time the ability for local councils in Wales to adopt a single transferable voting system instead of the currently used first past the post system. Currently, all 22 local authorities use first past the post, and I understand that some other local authorities, or rather a few local authorities, are considering the issue of moving to STV, but no one has done so to date. Chair, you'll see from the report also that before the introduction of the 2021 Act, Welsh Government did some research or organised some research to be done, and in the report today you'll see a summary of that research, which you'll find at Appendix 1, which starts on page 13, and a full copy of the report is in Appendix 2, which starts at page 25. Chair, I do sort of do my own summary of the report later on in the report, so just because it's a bit of a report to read, and I thought that I'd put into this report my summation of what it says, and I hope members think that I've done it in a balanced way, because there are advantages and disadvantages which are shown up in the report. So members will see also that a single transferable voting system is a form of proportional representation, which has been used throughout the world. It's been used in Northern Ireland, Scotland, Malta, Estonia, and Australia for some of its elections. The consequences of moving to an STV system are set out in 3.2 of my report, and the following are the sort of main ticket items in terms of changes. It will involve a move from our current organisation of 52 single-member wards plus 8 multi-member wards. We will move from that, if we go to STV, to a brand new system where all new wards will be multi-member wards, with between 3 and 6 councillors in each of those wards. Now, the determination of the ward size and geography will be determined by the Local Democracy Boundary Commission for Wales, the Boundary Commission, I'm going to call it from now. Who will, if council later decides to move to STV, they will undertake the necessary work to enable the STV system to be put in place for the next elections or local elections, provided that council makes its decision before the 15th of November 2024. It's important. That's an important date. There is a cut-off, at least insofar as the next local elections are concerned. So, Chair, if members were if wards were to have between 3 and 6 members, that means that in future, instead of having 52 single-member wards and 8 multi-member wards, we will have between 12 and 23 wards. So there is the wards become bigger. They obviously become multi-member, and that is something that is changed. We will have no choice about it, although we will have the opportunity to make representations to the Boundary Commission if and when changes are made. We'll still have 68 councillors, and it's been suggested, well, proportional representation has been used in the Police and Crime Commissioners elections. Well, yes, we have, and members will also know that the next Police and Crime Commissioners elections, which take place in May of next year, they move back to the first past the post system. But in any event, the proportional representation in that is very, very different to what is being required under STV. There will be a requirement for members, for voters rather, to rank their candidates in order of preference, number 1, 2, and 3, etc. And with voters being able to vote for as many or as few candidates as they want. And in order to be elected, the successful candidate must achieve a quota, which I've set out in the report. It's the number of valid ballot papers divided by the number of seats plus 1, and then add 1 to the end of that. So that's the quota that must be reached. Ballot papers will be sorted initially in terms of first preference votes, with candidates who reach the quota are immediately being elected. And the surplus votes for each of those candidates is then reallocated to second preference votes. There is a very complex system of doing the transfer, and it's for that reason that the counting of STV votes will take much longer than we currently do. We usually do our votes in a single day. In the paper, I've suggested that it might take 2 days, but Sandra has suggested to me that depending upon the size of the number of wards that we have, you remember it's between 12 and 23, the more wards we have, the longer it might take, and it could take even up to 4 days to do, because this is a brand new system for us, and there is nobody in Wales that has the expertise to do this. Members, if no candidates achieve the quota in the first round of counting, then the bottom placed candidate, the one with the least votes, is then eliminated, and his or her votes are then reallocated in accordance with the transfer basis. Again, as I said, the transferring mechanism is complex. The regulations which I've referred to in 3.2 of the report have now come into effect, so they are there now. So there has been a little bit of a development since the report went to council. But as I said, it is more complex, and it will result in the counting process being certainly more than 1 day, and it could be up to 3 or 4. Members will see also from the report that the process for moving to an STV system is set out there. The first thing for members to do is to consider whether you even want to consider moving to an STV process. If you don't, well, we don't go any further than that. But if members do want to consider STV, there is a requirement for a statutory consultation process to take place. After the consultation has taken place, the council is required to then reconsider the matter, taking into account the results of that consultation. That in considering the consultation report, members must meet for a single purpose meeting, so it can't be added to any other agenda item. So it's a single purpose meeting. And that decision, as I said before, must be taken before the 15th of November 2024 if the STV process is to be used at the next local elections in 2027. Members will also see from the report that the final decision after the consultation process must be, if members want to move to it, 2/3 majority of the membership need to vote in favour of the move. So it's a qualified majority which is required to move to STV. If members do take that decision, then the elections for this council will follow the STV process for the next 2 elections. We can't go back during that period. In other words, it will be used for the 2027 elections and the 31-32 elections. And then council could move back after that if they so wish. Members. As I referred to earlier, Welsh Government did arrange for some research into STV to be undertaken. The summary is in Appendix 1, and the main report, the full report, is in Appendix 2. At paragraph 5 of the report, I set out my own summary of it. Members, I'm happy to go through the summary if you want me to do so, but I suspect that all members will have read it and I digested it. But I'm in your hands, really.
Thank you, Clive. That's fairly comprehensive, and thank you. Yes, the supplementary information is quite comprehensive also. I think it does raise a number of issues. I know members previously have highlighted some of these, but to me, there's, before we go into conversation, the 2 things in particular, I think, and for the benefit of the public, need to realise that this is not a decision about actually going into STV. This is a decision whether we want to consult on the matter. And my concern in particular in relation to that is the indication that process itself will cost circa 50,000. Of scarce resources, and even after that we would still need 66% of the members of that special council meeting to vote for this STV for it to happen, and I can hand on heart say I can hardly ever see that happening in Powys. So it does raise issues there. Anyway, hand over to members. Well, Graham first, and then Peter Lewington, and then Heilwen. Yeah?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Sorry. Well, I'm completely against this going out to consultation, and for Powys even considering going to this system. And there will be views for and against, I'm sure, but in my opinion, it damages the democratic process, not improves it. I think political parties have the ability to benefit from this, and I think it will lead to the end of any independent candidates being left on Powys County Council, which I don't see as a good thing for this authority. The system, to me, is so confusing. Our voters are confused with what they have already at times, and this will make things even worse. You know, it's a system that allows voters to rank candidates, and I think there's a saying called donkey voting, where voters vote for candidates in the order they appear on the ballot. There's a danger of that happening, and most of all, as has been mentioned already, the huge and unnecessary cost. You know, I for one won't vote for something that means passing on additional costs to our residents, particularly at the moment when our education service is in crisis. Our adult and children's social services are under extreme and enormous pressure, and our health service in Wales, you know, is in total mess. So how, hand on heart, could we possibly suggest that we put additional costs on our voters? As Clive mentioned about other councils, I'm aware that other councils such as Cardiff, Swansea, Pembroke and Torfaen, to my knowledge, have already dismissed this system and won't go ahead with the single transferable vote. And there may be many more. I'm unaware of any councils in Wales that have decided to go down this route so far. It needs to work. STV needs to cover large geographical areas, massive geographical areas. But there have been huge problems in Scotland with discussions about it taking place up there. And it needs large populations, and it will make for far more difficult for our constituents to know the candidates that they're actually being asked to vote for. I think this system is a very poor way of electing candidates, and for me, I think we need to dismiss it completely. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Graham. Councillor Lymington.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I did have a couple of points. Just before I raise those, though, could I just ask? I guess a point of information from my understanding was the paper. I was questioning whether or not that should have a cabinet member's name on it, as it's actually coming from cabinet. I'm not quite sure what the process is.
Councillor Peter, it's quite appropriate for such a paper to be in the name of a cabinet portfolio holder or an officer. It's just simply a request for our paper to come to for consideration by council. It doesn't need to be in the name of a portfolio holder, and hence it came in my name.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Clive. Yeah. If I may, then, Chair. Yeah. I'm also against this for various reasons, some of which Councillor Graham's mentioned and yourself have alluded to. I don't see STV as being widely used, as stated in 3.1 of the paper, and I think we really do need to understand the reasons why it's not widely used. And again, we've heard some of those today. If we adopt STV, for me, we lose the bond the voter has with their representative, because then in effect they will just be voting for a party list. It's a complex system, as we've heard, and as is shown in the paper, and indeed I think that's demonstrated by the many times that the word complex is used in the paper, and therefore I think it's difficult for voters to understand. I fear that these two issues alone would lead to a lower voter turnout, which isn't good for democracy for me. And then I guess, how does it work? So how is the workload shared among the members that get elected? Would members share information in multi-party wards? And how are the interests, I think as Councillor Graham alluded to, is how are the interests of sort of smaller parties or indeed independents protected across this whole process? We've heard a little bit about costs. We've heard about ongoing costs if we get to that stage in terms of counting the votes. There's also another thing I think to consider there. If it's going to take 4 days of our staff's time to count these votes, what would they have been doing in those 4 days? And we've lost all that work that they would have been focusing on. And then I think, as the chair mentioned, there's the huge cost of the consultation, where we've currently got nothing in the budget, and surely we really do have more pressing priorities than going out to consultation on this. I've heard nothing from the public to say they want to change, So I really don't think that this should be a priority issue for the council to focus on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. Sorry, Clive.
Yeah, and I'm not contradicting what Councillor Peter says at all. It's not the purpose of this report for me to express any opinion. But in the interest of balance, I do point out that in the report on page 9 that following the 2007 elections in Scotland, there was a survey of voters, and 84% of the respondents didn't think that the voting was difficult to do so. So I have to say that to start with. And in terms of Councillor Peter's suggestion that the count may be using officers from the council in the count. Well, some officers from the council are used in the count, but often we have people coming who are not officers to the count. So I thought I'd just put that in as a measure of balance.
Thank you. Councillor Hailwan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just a few things. The ward sizes potentially, if we went down this route, would be huge and not serviceable in many ways. We've heard it's a complex system, but it's the cost to the authority. I just don't think we can justify, as Clive alluded to, it could go into 4 days. That would be over £100,000 that we literally don't have. And I am totally against this system, along with the others here today. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Peter Lewis.
Mike's on, yeah. I totally agree. I'm against it. I agree with everything's been said by Councillor Levington, Breeze and Hume. I think it is a complex. You see the electric when they go to vote, they panic on the basic first past the post ballot papers. And to have something complex like this is, they do. Some people just do panic going to vote, and they'll put them off from going. But also the cost, but also with such a large ward, they'll lose that contact with the new councillors. It's not the government. You're not the Senate now. You're dealing with potholes, etc., and roads and whatever, and I think you lose that contact. So I agree with what everything else has been said, and I'm totally against it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you much. Councillor Danny.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sharing the same view as everyone else, and just like Councillor Peters just said, now, like, I know directly in my ward, people will come to me with their problems, and I will deal with their problems. Or to the best of my ability, but it's going to cause confusion about who they approach. There's going to cause confusion about who's dealing with what. There's going to be conflict between councillors in the wards. I can, you're going to have double handling issues and so on and so on. It's just going to, well, yeah, I can't see it going anywhere, to be fair. And from my point of view, as a ward councillor, nobody voted for me for the party that I'm in. They voted for me on the knowledge of my ability to be able to get things done. The party wasn't, they weren't fussed about that. It was just more for the person rather than anything else. So it's a no from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a point of information, I understand from councillors in Conwy that they've also refused to go down this path. So that's my point of information. Clive, were you going to say something?
No, Chair.
No, that's fine.
Everybody's had a say, Chair.
Yes.
I
think the message is quite clear. And a number of valid points have been raised, and I think therefore it's quite unanimous, and I think the message therefore to next full council is that we do not go out to consultation, and therefore leave it to full council to hopefully agree or not agree with our views, isn't it?
So, Chair, the recommendation from DSC, and I'm making it sort of formal,
yes,
is that we do not proceed with STV and we don't go to consultation. That's what the recommendation from DSC is going to be.
Yes, it is. I think that is clearly unanimous today. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. We'll produce a report which comes from DSC, which includes those comments. Carol will sort that out for us, and it'll be approved by you, Chair, but before it's sent as part of the pack which goes to full council.
Yes. Good. Thank you much. Thank you, Clive. Thank you, Carol and officers, and thank you, members, for attending today. And therefore, we will conclude the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you much. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Thank
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks all.
Thank you, Chair. Bye-bye.